Hey everyone, welcome to the next tutorial, which is the second part of Space Wolf tutorial, and this is on non-metallic materials for the Space Wolves. What I've done is I've base coated the model in rust grey, and then we're going to be using two colours to begin with for the non-metallic materials. First up is the highlight for the sort of highlights and reflections, which is Fenrisian grey, and then the shadows, or well, very slight shadows, are in the Fang. We're using three colours to start with because you need to be able to correct placement or mistakes or anything like that very easily, and three colours that are fairly close together make that much easier. I mean, yes, you would get a high contrast, very shiny look very quickly with three colours that are very far apart in terms of contrast, but it's not easy to correct. So with this method, for a beginner as such, it's just a little bit easier. Obviously, before the video started, I mentioned the notes on placement, and as you can see, where the greave, I still don't know what it's called, I think it's a greave, where that curves, that's where the light sort of squishes and bends. Two light sources at the moment on this. I will put in more when I finish the model off later, but I'll do a separate video on that. But this will give you the basis for creating something that looks shiny. So your first placement of Fenrisian grey, don't worry about it being smooth. I mean, don't worry about it being blended into the rest of the armour smooth. Obviously worry about it being a smooth coat of paint, but all you're looking to do at the moment is to just put them in the right place. Yeah, so just paint lines, be neat as much as you can, take your time and get them looking right. If it looks slightly shiny, you're on to a winner. You've got to go with your gut on a lot of this, and if it just looks inherently shiny from what you're doing, you just follow that, go with it, roll with it. Natural and accurate, like really accurate placement will come with practice. The more you do it, the better you'll get, and the more you observe the natural world, the more you'll see how light reacts with different materials and how it reflects. So just keep your eyes peeled and keep learning. That's my phone going bonkers. So yeah, as you can see, we've put Fenrisian grey down the sides. The what I'm doing right that second is the reflection from the other leg, and then you've got from a main light source on the other side. So just get everything blocked in. I've done it in quite a few coats, just to make blending a little bit easier, but you don't have to do that. The blending technique works however you place it, because the colours are so close together. Okay, so you can obviously see the one leg is, well, not finished, but it has the three colours in place. At the moment I'm just working with the two. So carry on doing that, and just keep checking to see whether it's shiny. Now what you want to be doing is you want to be blending the highlight with the base colour. So as you can see here, I'm using very thinned Fenrisian grey. And I'm just feathering it over the transition between the two colours. And what you're looking to do, you can see I'm scrubbing, sort of almost scrubbing backwards and forwards. Where the tip of the brush is where the most paint will go, and then towards the back of the brush, it will it'll start to blend. So always have the tip of the brush pointing towards the same colour that is on the tip of the brush, if that makes sense. So I've got Fenrisian grey on the brush, and the tip goes towards the Fenrisian grey, so that where it meets the rust grey, it's blended. And what you're looking to do is you sort of place it on and then drag it out and then back towards the Fenrisian grey. So you're dragging it out onto the rust grey and then back again. And when you're going back again, that's when it gets smooth. It is just a case of take your time. Just try it on a flat piece of plastic to start with, to see how the dragging backwards and forwards motion works, and how you can use that on a miniature. You can see as I'm wiping the paint off onto my glove that it's very, very thin. So it's almost like glazes, but you're smoothing them out at the same time. The pieces I was just working on there are the reflections from underneath the knee pad. So obviously the light will bounce from the greave up onto the underside of the knee pad. Let's see if I turn it over again. Might be able to see a bit better. Here we go. So out and then back in. So you finish on the solid bit of Fenrisian grey, and that, if you do that enough times with thin layers, you'll get a really, really nice smooth blend. Here we have the fang. So we're going to go in with the shadows now, and we're going to be doing pretty much exactly the same that we've been doing previously, the same technique, but you're working with the shadows. So remember, the point goes to where you want the most paint. And there'll be a bit more of a sort of slight glazing technique as well. So you can see there, just really thin layers just down the middle to start with. And then when you want to blend it in to the rest of the armour, you can see exactly here. Drag it out and then push back in and let that dry. And you make sure you let that dry completely. Yeah. So I cut that a bit there, but that is completely dry. Out, back in, and that will give you a really, really nice smooth blend. As you can see, it's starting to come together now. You can see the shadows. The increase in contrast really starts to bring it out, and you can see the shine. And this is what you're aiming for. It doesn't have to be completely 100% real world accurate. It's a Space Marine. Go with your gut, make it look shiny. If to your eye it looks shiny, great. If when you get critiques and things like that, people say it doesn't look shiny, then just adjust how you see things and learn from that, and eventually you'll get to a stage where naturally you'll start placing things more accurately to get that shiny look. I've sped this up about 4 times because the process is exactly the same. Once you've got the placement, you're using the same technique again and again, just in varying degrees of size. You can see on the side there. Just keep increasing it. The fang is a fairly dark colour, so, but it thins quite nicely. So you need to do a fair few layers, but it goes quite dark once you've done that. There we go. That's after several layers, and you can see that really does look shiny now. But we want to give it a bit more. So, blue horror. It's very, very pale edge highlight, or edge paint as they call it from GW. It's almost like the old Space Wolf grey, bit more blue to it, but yeah, this will give you the beginnings of real shine. Now what you want to do with this is you want to put it in the center of your highlights. So on the circular part of the knee pad, thin coat, just dab it in and push it towards the center. If you've got it thin enough, and thinning paint just comes with practice, but you do want it very thin. It'll start to sort of it's almost like a glaze. You just want it a bit thicker than a glaze, just so you actually get some colour on there fairly quickly. Tops of the greaves, don't go all the way down on certain parts, but already you can see it's just because it increases the contrast, and this is what it is. It's contrast. Once you've got the contrast right, everything else will look good. There we go. See, that's looking shiny. That's exactly what we want. And now the finishing touches, the white. Thin it a bit. Don't thin it too much, because you want to concentrate this. You want the white to be white. And don't worry too much about blending the white in either. You just want very small dots. So a dot in the middle there, and that instantly, that's a concentrated reflection. If you look at the shiny material, the main reflection isn't actually blended. It's a circle. It's a dot. You can see it very clearly. It's everything else that's blended, and you just do that over the rest of the armour, and there we have it. Shiny Space Marine. I've added another dot highlight just above the first one on the knee pad, or both knee pads in fact, just like a secondary reflection. You get those sometimes on really shiny surfaces, and that's the finished photo of the Space Marine. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, click the notification button,